Hey guys, it's Jen, and I have a bit of a different video for you today. I'm going to be doing a product review, and Tonic recently was generous enough to send me some products to try out, and I've actually tried out a few of them before, but I was excited to get some of these others. And you may have seen me using these Tim Holtz Tonic Studio small shears lately in some of my videos. I love these because they're non-stick. These are the mini ones. I think they're called mini. And they sent me those as well as the normal size ones, which are huge. Nice and long to cut longer stuff. But these have been awesome. I'm not going to review these in this video. I'm also not going to review these in this video. I'm going to focus on the Nuvo stuff, but I just wanted to show you really quickly. These are stamps, so they are cling rubber stamps, and I actually used this in my recent class with Irite Landgraf for a technique video in there. That class is called Custom Made, and it's super, super cute. I love this stamp. These ones are really cute too. I haven't had a chance to break into these, but I love these florals. They're super gorgeous. And here are some that are just, this can create a bouquet. You can see that there. These are some just kind of general card making you could use these for, and it comes with a little bit of a die as well. This one comes with, I didn't even know that Tonic made stamps, so this was new to me, but these are fun. So these are more card making type stamps, and then these are more, honestly, these are more along the lines of something that I would use. And they come with this little thing that you can, it holds it together, but you can take it off. And I already took it off this one so that I could use it. But just wanted to show you those. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on those in this video. I kind of wanted to show you some fun and cool stuff. Well, we're just going to kind of experiment and play here. With the Nuvo, I have crystal drops. I have glitter drops. Let's see. Those are glitter. Those are crystal. Yeah, so I've got glitter and crystal drops. Now, in my stash, I do actually have 3 of these already, Nuvo crystal drops. And I really like them. They're fun. I don't take the opportunity to use them as much as I should. And so I wanted to play around with a couple different techniques today, just kind of show you how these work and give you some ideas, as well as give myself some ideas. You can see on the top here, I got this from Jen McGuire, but she put a little dot of what color it is on the top of the lid. And I'm going to do that on these as well, but I'll do that at the end. The other thing that that they sent me that I wanted to try out with you here today is the Embellishment Mousse. So this is kind of like a modeling paste or something. It is, you can run it through a stencil, and so it's metallic and it adds dimension. So I have, let me tell you the colors here. Coral Calypso. This one is Indian Gold, which I love the gold. This one is Mother of Pearl, which almost looks like a soft gold, but it's definitely pearly. I hope that it kind of stays this champagne color because I really like that. And then this one is called Pink Flambe. And so I'm going to try those out with you. And I have some different things that I'm going to experiment with. I want to try the Embellishment Mousse first, so I'm going to move the crystal drops off to the side. And I wanted to see how it reacts on white paper and how it reacts on dark paper. So I have just some white cardstock and some black cardstock, and we're going to just play around and try a few different things here. I just have this little spatula that I'm going to use. So first of all, let me just open it up and pull out the colors. So you can see when you open it, it has like a little cover that you need to peel off. Okay, and then, oh, this is really thick. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scrape it. I'm just going to scrape it across the page. Just a thin layer, and I'll do a thick layer next to it. We can see how they dry. I'll do it on black and white. So I'll do a thin layer there, and then I'll let it stay thick right there. Okay, I'm just going to have a little wipe off to the side so I can wipe off my my spatula. Now this, I feel like it should be thinner than this. I wonder if something happened to this one, that it's too thick. Let's try another one, because I think it's supposed to be more the consistency of a modeling paste, and that was definitely thicker, although it still works, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, no, it's just thick. Okay, so here's some more. Let's do a thin layer. This is the mother of pearl. Ooh, that's kind of pretty on the dark. And then we'll layer a bit more. Okay, so there's a thin layer on the white and then a thicker layer. So I'm just going to scrape that back off and then wipe it down. Okay, so this is actually very different than I thought it would be, because I thought it would be a thinner consistency of product, but it's actually very thick. So that's interesting. Okay, so this is the Indian Gold. So there it is, nice thin coat. There's a little bit thicker. Okay, nice and thin. So you can get some cool looks with just a thin coat too, and it's gonna show up nicely on a dark paper, which is cool. We'll try it through a stencil here in just a second. All right, so this one is the Calypso Coral. This is a really cool peachy color. So let's do a nice thin coat, and then let's lay it on. And here, so pretty. Ooh, it looks so pretty on the white. Okay. All right, so we've got those kind of examples of the colors. They work really well on dark surfaces. They obviously look very different, but you can see the shimmer too. Can you see all of that gorgeous shimmery paste? Okay, it's really, really pretty. Look at that on the white. Oh, that's really gorgeous. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some stenciling. I've got another piece of white cardstock here, and here's just a stencil that I have. And what I want to do, just for fun, I'm going to mix the colors. So I've got the pink and the coral. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some. Now, this is a little bit of a different consistency than I was imagining, so we'll see how it pulls through the stencil. It's definitely very thick. Okay, so I'm just going to use as much as is on my little palette knife. And I'm going to just dip into the pink here. And I kind of want to run the colors together to kind of get a mixture. I'm cross-contaminating a little bit, that's okay. Oops. It's almost like, I don't know, I can't explain what the texture is like. It's thick. Okay. So I don't want to waste any. Let's pull that up. Okay, that's kind of cool looking. So I really like when you can mix colors together. But you can see the shimmer. It will dry, I'm sure, and we'll be able to see it a little bit better. But I can see a bit of the shimmer, especially in the Calypso Coral right there. And you can see where the colors overlapped here. And that looks pretty cool. So there's definitely some dimension. I'll try to show you a better, maybe I'll take a close-up photo of it so you can see the dimension better. But just if you've used a modeling paste before, it does give the same kind of dimension. Okay, so on this same paper, since I just messed that up, we'll just do the gold as well. And we'll just try it on the same paper because that's fine. Let me put the lids back on these two. I'm making a little bit of a mess. That's okay, I like to get messy sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the pearl and the Indian Gold, is use them together, but I'm going to use a different stencil. I'm going to use this one. I'll just do it up here at the top. And I'm going to start with the pearl. Which I hope when this dries has a nice, like, kind of the same champagne color, because I really like this color. Okay, let me scrape that back off in here. And I'll wipe it down. So I think it's important to wipe things down, and in fact I'm going to wipe down the stencil I used a second ago really quick before it dries, because a lot of times with products like these, if it dries onto your stencil, it's not a good thing. Okay, let's take the gold. I have way too much, I can tell already. That gold is gorgeous. I'll take a little bit more. Beautiful color. Okay, and you can scrape off a little bit more and then go back into the cracks if you want to. If you care where it goes. Like, I kind of like a messy look usually, so it doesn't matter to me. Now, another thing I'm wondering is, I'm sure once it's dry, if I could go back over it with some watercolors or different things to dress it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to flip this over and stamp it down and see what that looks like too. Just experimenting and playing. I like to do that when I get new products. Okay, that didn't do much, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to let those dry. And let's go ahead and try it on the black cardstock really quickly as well, because I want to see what the difference is when you use it on a dark cardstock versus a light one. So I'm just using a baby wipe to clean off my stencil. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. And I'm going to grab the black cardstock, and let's just, since I already have these two open, we'll go back to this same stencil. And we'll just do the same thing. I'm not going to do as much this time. I don't think I need to. Okay, good enough. Let me wipe that off really quick, and let's do the pink and the coral. So these are, let's see, how many ounces are these tubs? 2.2 ounces. And you can tell you use hardly any when you do it, so it's gonna last a long time. As with most of these products, you know, I'm sure many of you have used this kind of thing before. But it's just really a different consistency. Like I don't know if you can see when I'm poking it, like, it's not like a modeling paste. It's a lot thicker. So just something to be aware of. It almost feels like a gelato that's been crumbled up or something, maybe. I don't know. But it works the same kind of, so that's cool. All right, let's do the bright pink. And we'll see how these dry. Okay, you do a little scrape and then you do a little fill in. So you can see I'm scraping off the top, and then I have a little bit more to fill in the tops of some of these that didn't get covered. All right, so that's where I am going to stop for a minute with the embellishment mousse. I'm going to set these aside to dry while we play with the Nuvo crystal drops, because I know those take a while to dry as well. So we'll set these aside, but you can see the beautiful quality of this. And also, I just wanted to mention, I think it would be super cool to do a whole background where you just, let me just grab another sheet of white cardstock. You can just scrape across the color. You don't have to put it through a stencil even. So let me show you what I mean. Just grabbing some on my palette knife here, and I'm just kind of scraping. It's almost like just like paint, and it's going to give a really nice colored like base for a photo or something. Let me go in with a little bit of the pink here too, just to see, like, and you can kind of mix them. And if you wanted to go the other way too, you could. I'm not really as good at this as some other people are, this kind of thing, but you can see how that could be a cool background. And now I could take a photo and lie that on top of it. Let me just find a photo and show you what I mean. Maybe not this photo that's right on top, because well, here's a picture of my daughter potty training that kind of matches it, but you can see how you can create a base for your photo. So just something to think about, or I wanted to point that out. Like I mentioned, I have had Nuvo crystal drops before, and I got them and I like them because they create basically like an enamel dot look without, well, but they're liquid obviously, so you make your own. So you make them as big or as small as you want. So we have here this sweet lilac color, and I'm actually going to zoom in a bit for this part so that you can see. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze, and I have it set to the side. I'm just squeezing a little dot, and these are self-leveling, so they will round out, and I can create something tiny. I can create something a little bit larger, and I can just kind of, now that one seems very dimensional to me. I don't know if you can see. That's really dimensional. So maybe if I hold it up and down, I'll get a flatter one. Now when I pulled this up, it had a little peak, but as it's just kind of already leveling itself out. So I really like to make little tiny dots with this, and this is a great way to embellish a layout, or if you like to scatter enamel dots, or even like spray mist, it's something that you can use instead of that. So that is the soft lilac. Let's check out the other colors that I have. So this one is called Apple Green. I'm just going to mix them all in here together and do different sizes. And I'm going to try it doing it different ways. I'm just quickly doing these so that you can see how they look when I take my time and when I don't. Okay. Let's see. This one is a glitter. Well, let's do all of the crystal ones first, then we'll do glitter. So this one is called Simply White. Now this, I think, is just a solid white, which is awesome. Now this would be really great for adding dimension to embellishments, I think. I will pull out some die cuts and show you what I mean. I kind of dig the white, so I'm excited about that. Okay, and we also have, this one is called Buttermilk. This is a nice soft yellow color. That's really cute. I like this color. Okay, so I'm trying it when I do it from the top and when I do it from the side. There was a little bit of a bubble in this one actually, but that color is really nice. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out and do this, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, they also sent me a clear one, so this is cool. This is just purely, probably you can just add dimension, or if you do cards or something, this would be cool to, like, to mimic water droplets, or just to take on any color of the background that you're doing. And I will try this on a few different surfaces here in just a second. So there's clear. Now I have a couple of glitter drops. So this one is called Aquatic Mist, and these have a glitter inside them, and these are really pretty. I will, when they're dry, I will hold them up so that you can see them really well, but these are pretty. Okay, I'm going to try some up and down. we'll see how that goes. I also want to try some shapes, but I don't think that shapes work very well. Okay, this one is called Pink Champagne, and this one's a glitter as well. That's really a pretty color too. It's kind of like a purpley pink. So you can see that from the bottle, it looks similar to this, but it's not exactly the same. So that's why I liked having the color on top for my other ones that I had. So these are ones that were already in my stash. I had Duck Egg Blue, and I'll just go ahead and squeeze these out too so that you can see. And I haven't used them for a while, so that one had a little bit of a bubble in the top. This Duck Egg Blue is a really nice, soft, light blue. I love it. I also have this soft, I think it's soft gold, pale gold, which is a cool color. This one, yeah, there we go. There's a little bubble at the top. So if you haven't used it for a while, test it before you put it right on your project, because that is the thing that's going to, if you put it directly on your project, you want to be sure that it's working properly. So I would recommend having a thing on the side, like a paper or something on the side, just to squeeze it off before you actually start, or test a couple before you get going. So this one's a really cool color too. It's called Oyster Gray, and I love a good neutral like this. A soft gray is one of my favorite neutrals, and so there you go. So those are the three that I already had. Let's go ahead, and I wanted to try a couple of things. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of shapes here on my paper and see how that goes. I'm going to just do a heart here, and we'll see how that dries. I want to do one with the solid color as well. So just gonna, I'm actually just gonna do a line and a line like that, because I want to see if they look like enamel hearts, because then you can stick them on your layout, and that would be super cool. Okay, the other thing I want to try is I have some wood veneer pieces. I'm gonna move this aside for a second. That I wanted to try adding some of the crystal drops to and see how they dry on here. So one of the things that I really like to do is to put a piece of washi tape down, and then like as a border, like just as a mask, and then paint half of a wood shape. And so I'm going to try the same thing with the crystal drops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hexagon and I'm going to mask half of it off. And then I am going to put the crystal drops on the other half. Now, I'm actually going to try white because I think that this will look super cool. And I think Pink Fresh had some enamel shapes like this before, where they had wood veneer that had enamel on it. And this is kind of like enamel. So I'm just going to kind of trace around and then fill it in. And this may take a while to dry, but it should level itself out. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. It does look kind of lumpy and bumpy right now, and so I'm hoping that will self-level. I also wanted to try on the green, and here's what I'm going to do for this one. I'm going to draw a line up the center and then just lines like this, just to see how that turns out, and maybe I'll make it so that it fills in the stem. And then I think for the heart, I'm just going to do an all over enamel to see how that goes. I didn't do this perfectly. That's okay. This is just for an experiment. So I'm going to do the glitter on this one. And let's see how that ends up looking. I think if you do a thinner coat, it probably dries faster. But if you want that nice enamel look, I think if you do too thin of a coat, you don't get the same effect. So I'm going to go ahead and just do, not a thick coat, but thick enough. Okay, so there's that. And then on this last one, there's a word on it, and so I want to see if I can just trace the word. So I'm going to go ahead and use, I'll put the lid on that. I'm going to go ahead and use this purple color. and see if I can fill in this word. And I'm just squeezing very slightly as I trace the letter. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm just looking for something interesting, I guess. I just want to see if I can do it, really. Okay, so we're going to try clear on the rocket. Let's see, you can't see because I zoomed in. So let me move these out of the way. And let's do I'm just going to do the window, actually. Okay, and we'll see how that dries. And that will give, I think, a cool effect. And we'll see how self-leveling it is. And I think once I play around with this a bit, I'll get a better hang of it. And I think I put way too much on here. It's going to take forever to dry. Okay, I'm going to move the rocket aside and let that dry. Now I have this one that says, "You have my heart," and I just want to do the heart. So I'm going to take the white Nuvo drops because all I want is just I don't want it to be different. I don't want it to be a different color or anything. I just want it to stand out a little bit more, have a little bit of a different dimension. Okay. So hopefully that will level out. And we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to go ahead and let all of these dry. These are the ways that I would use these products. So, and then we'll come back to the mousse and see how it's dried and come back to these as well. Okay, so I wanted to come back and tell you about the drying time. I am super impatient, so it's hard for me to wait for a long time. So I just want to make you aware. When you put the Nuvo mousse onto a paper like I did, like this one where I just scraped it across, it dries pretty immediately. Just takes a couple minutes. So this is definitely dry, and you can see the gorgeous shimmer there. Really pretty, and that looks great. Now with the examples that I showed you at the very beginning, this side is dry. Now this side you can touch, but it's still, especially this one, you can see that it's a little bit, it's not stiff. It takes a little bit longer to dry, and so that's something to keep in mind. It's been about 20 minutes or so, maybe a little longer. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now the stencil, I can touch it without it smudging, but when I feel it, it's kind of cool and kind of wet. So I can tell that it's still drying, even though I can touch it without it getting messed up. So that is, I guess, another something to be aware of. Same with the samples on the black. I can touch it, but it's cool to the touch, and so it's still a little bit wet. So when you have an even coverage that's thicker, it works better than when you have this where I have kind of these peaks. That's going to take even longer. And here's the example on the white. So it's definitely still wet in those really thick areas. Now this one's a little bit drier, but again, it's still cool to the touch. So I would just wait until it's not cool to the touch. You may be able to use a heat gun, but my experience with this kind of thing is to not use a heat gun. It sometimes warps it, but let's go ahead and try it and see what happens just for an experiment. So let's take a look. It may burn it. That's what I'm worried about. You could go from the bottom. It might be okay. I don't know. I probably wouldn't suggest doing that, but it seems to be okay, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's definitely more dry. So you can try it. So I'm going to set that aside. Now I wanted to show you the crystal drops. The leaf has almost dried. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here. You can see it's a pretty thin coat that I did, and I can touch it and it's not messing up, except when I get to the bottom it's a bit thicker. You can see when I touch that, it kind of, I don't know if you can see that, it's definitely getting on my finger. So the crystal drops take a lot longer to dry. The ones, what I will say on the paper, the ones that are really small like this, they dry pretty quickly, and I can rub my finger over those and they're great. But if I touch this one, it's still really wet. So that's just something to be aware of, that the smaller they are, the thinner they are, the faster they'll dry. Even the yellow ones, which I did close to the end, I can rub my finger over the smaller ones, and they're good. So just something to keep in mind. Now the hearts kept their shape really well, which I'm excited about because I want to do some little hearts, especially this one turned out well. But they're not dry yet. So yeah, they're going to take you a while. So if you're going to use these, great. Just know that they're going to take a while to dry. Now let me show you the things that I did them on. This is the rocket ship, and you can see this is still milky. This is the clear, so it will dry clear. So that's going to take a lot longer to dry. Again, it's been about 20 minutes. I would even suggest, if you can, let it dry overnight. Here's the heart, and you can see that a lot comes off when I touch it with my finger. So again, just patience is going to be your friend. Here's the hexagon, and it hasn't leveled out like I would like it to. I think that with practice I can get this looking better. So that's something that I'm going to be aware of, is to just getting an even consistency, because I know I can get that look. And then here's the heart as well. You can see that it's just a little bit shinier. And then my word hello, it's staying nice and where it needs to. It's very thick, and so it is going to take a while to dry too. I did want to show you something I did. Just to give you an example on a layout. This is a layout that I created recently for Freckled Fawn, but I added some Nuvo crystal drops to it just for a little bit more definition and to just show you how you could use these on a layout. So I had these areas where I had 3 enamel dots, and I went ahead and added little tiny dots of this purple color, which is actually called Sweet Lilac, because it matched it perfectly. You can see this is that same color. And I just added some little dots here and there, and since they're so small, they're pretty much dry. I just did it a couple minutes ago, but they're pretty dry to the touch. So if you're going to add these to a layout and you're impatient like me, I would definitely suggest doing small dots like this. I think this would have looked really cool with white dots. Actually, they would have stood out more, but I wanted kind of that subtle look, and it just gives it a little bit of something. And so I just wanted to show that to you really quickly. So that's where I am going to call this kind of review of these products finished. Even though my Nuvo crystal drops aren't dry yet, I'm just too impatient to wait for them. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will be using some of these products in upcoming videos, so be watching for that. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you soon.